Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to our Hanafi fiqh class. We are doing the kitab known as I'ala Sunan of Maulana Zafar Ahmad Thanvi rahimahullah. And tonight, inshallah ta'ala, we carry on from the chapter of the minimum and maximum time of haid. So let us begin. Bismillahi walhamdulillahi wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So we stopped at the end of hadith number 368. We started from hadith number 369. وعن أبي أمامة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أقل الحيض 3 وأكثره 10. رواه الطبراني في الكبير والأوسط، وفيه عبد الملك الكوفي عن العلاء بن كثير لا يدري من هو، لا يدرى من هو، كما في مجمع الزوائد. Okay, so hadith number 329 is from Hadrat Abu Umama radiyallahu anhu, who said that the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the minimum haid is 3, meaning 3 days, and the maximum is 10 days. Imam al-Tabarani rahimahullah reports this hadith in Al-Mu'jam al-Kabir. He reports it in Al-Mu'jam al-Awsat as well. And in the chain of narration is a person by the name of Abdul Malik al-Kufi, who reports from Al-Ala ibn Kathir. And it's not known who he is. In other words, he's an unknown narrator. So in other words, what it's mentioning basically over here is that there's weakness in the chain because there's an unknown narrator involved. This is mentioned in Majma' al-Zawaid. But okay, let's move on to the next one, final hadith of the chapter, which is hadith number 330. حدثنا أبو حامد محمد بن هارون حدثنا محمد بن أحمد بن أنس الشامي حدثنا حماد بن المنهال البصري عن محمد بن راشد عن مكحول عن واثلة بن الأسقع رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أقل الحيض 3 أيام وأكثره 10 أيام. رواه الدارقطني وقال ابن منهال مجهول ومحمد بن أحمد بن أنس ضعيف. So this is reported by Abu Hamid Muhammad ibn Harun, who narrates from Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Anas al-Shami, who narrates from Muhammad ibn al-Minhal al-Basri, from Muhammad ibn Rashid, from Imam Makhul, from Hadrat Wathila ibn al-Asqa' radiyallahu anhu, who said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the minimum haid is 3 days and the maximum is 10 days. Imam al-Daraqutni rahimahullah reports this hadith in his Sunan, and he said that Hamad ibn Minhal, he is majhul, he's the unknown narrator. You know his name, but who is he, what is his state, etc., etc. Imam al-Daraqutni say we don't know him. And Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Anas, as you could see, who the narrator before him, Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Anas al-Shami, he's graded as being da'if. So he's a weak narrator, narrating from an unknown narrator. So, you know, like there's 2 problems in the chain over here. Now, that is the end of the chapter, but it suffices to say that we started out the chapter with a hadith which are authentic. Then he added in extras just for the sake of it. Why does Maulana Zafar Ahmad Thanvi do this? He does this for the sake that when you have a hadith which is authentic, and then you have one which has a weakness in the chain, then automatically on account of the existence of the authentic one, it adds strength to the one which has a weak chain. So therefore, despite the fact that there's a weak narrator and an unknown narrator, and even this is stuff that are mukhtalaf fi. Imam Daraqutni may say he's weak, and another Imam may say he's not weak. Imam Daraqutni may say he's unknown, but another Imam may come and say, no, he is known. So, you know, there's those factors to keep in mind, number 1. And number 2, even if they were weak and unknown, but the fact that they are strong hadith on the subject, it lends strength to this one, because, you know, it's like you have a liar telling you the sun is out. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, the liar tells you, you know, the sun is shining. There's a million people around who can tell you, yeah, the sun is shining. So the fact that the truthful people are saying the sun is shining adds strength to the story that even the liar is saying. And that's when you have a liar. Now, this is in worldly things. I'm not talking in the context of hadith, but anyway, so when you have a hadith which has a chain which is weak, now he's weak. For example, Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Anas al-Shami, and it said over here that he is weak. Now, it's not just a matter of he's weak, finish in a story. You would go and look amongst the muhaddithin and you see now who graded him as being weak. Why do they grade him as being weak? things of the sort. Then you'll find out maybe, for example, he had a bit of a weak memory. So sometimes he made mistakes. Not every time, sometimes. Now you have a hadith which is authentic and you have his narration. Now, because he made mistakes does not mean he made a mistake in this one year too. So, but that is why the science of hadith and grading of a hadith is not some plaything. Today, they can pick up Albani's book, for example, who was not a muhaddith in any case, but nonetheless, they pick up his book and then they read there, for example, Albani says so-and-so is weak, then they just start rejecting a hadith left, right, and center out of ignorance. So it's the science of hadith is not something to be trifled with if you don't have knowledge about what you are dealing with. So nonetheless, to summarize, it suffices for the fact that we had done a hadith on this chapter which are authentic. So these ones are added in here as extra information giving narrations because they are strengthened by the stronger ones. Moving on now to the next chapter. Babu aqall nifasi wa aktharuhu. The chapter with regards to the minimum nifas and the maximum. So what's the minimum and maximum with regards to nifas now? Now, nifas is the postpartum bleeding, as it's referred to in English. After a woman gives birth, that bleeding is known as nifas. So hadith number 331 عن سلام بن سلام عن حميد عن أنس رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وقت النفاس 40 إلا أن ترى الطهر قبل ذلك. أخرجه الدارقطني وقال لم يروه عن حميد غير سلام وهو سلام الطويل وهو ضعيف الحديث. So we started over here. Salam ibn Salam narrates from Imam Humayd al-Tawil. He narrates from Hazrat Anas radiyallahu anhu, who said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said the time of nifas, meaning the duration of nifas is arba'un, is maximum. In other words, is 40 days. In other words, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said the maximum duration of nifas is 40 days. If you understand it in simple terms. So the time for nifas is 40 days, illa an tara tuhra qabla dhalik, except if she sees purity before that. So you can go up to 40 days, but it can end before 40 days as well. So as soon as it ends, it ends, it's over. أخرجه الدارقطني, Imam الدارقطني رحمه الله reports this hadith. وقال لم يرويه عن حميد غير سلام. He said no one reported from Imam Humayd al-Tawil except for Salam, and he is Salam al-Tawil, and he is ضعيف, he's weak in hadith. On the Zafar, he says قلت قال ابن الجارود حدثنا إسحاق بن إبراهيم حدثنا ابن عيسى حدثنا السلام الطويل وكان ثقة. انتهى كلامه من التهذيب. فالرجل مختلف فيه ولما رواه الطرق المتعددة من أقوال الصحابة فلا ينزل حديثه هذا عن الحسن. Imam Zafar now shows a point, kind of what I was just mentioning now. So Imam Ad-Darqutni came and he said that Salam al-Tawil and he's weak. But he says Imam Ibn al-Jarud, another Imam of Hadith, he narrates from Ishaq ibn Ibrahim, from Imam Ibn Isa, from Salam al-Tawil, and Imam Ibn al-Jarud, now he says, وَكَانَ ثِقَةً, and Salam al-Tawil was thiqa. Now, thiqa is the terminology that when an Imam uses it, means he's 100% reliable. So Imam al-Darqutni says weak. Imam Ibn al-Jarud says he's totally authentic. So the science of Hadith is not just, oh, somebody said so, finish in the story, which is why, for example, you find the likes of Imam Ibn Adi al-Jurjani, his kitab Al-Kamilu fi Du'afa al-Rijal, one of the most famous and used kitabs in the science of Jarh al-Ta'dil. And he put in that kitab anybody that has had something said with regards to him, whether Imam Ibn Adi agrees with it or not. He strove to incorporate everyone. If somebody made a comment with regards to someone being weak, Imam Ibn Adi would record it in there. And then sometimes he would clarify and he would say, it's not like this, it is, things of the sort. So nonetheless, the point being that you'd find, for example, a person the likes of Salam al-Tawil. If Imam Ibn Ali were to have recorded it from him, you would have found him inside there as well. The point being that one Imam may grade somebody as weak and the next one would grade him as being strong. Not just, some may say, it's not that bad. Yeah, you find somebody saying it's weak, and the next one saying it's strong. Two total polar opposites. So the science of hadith is not just some one size fit all, because then you would go to Imam Darqutni and you'd find out from Imam Darqutni, why does he say he's weak? If Imam Darqutni don't have a reason, then it's known as like a ambiguous grading of being weak. Then the one who graded him as being authentic, his statement is taken over him. Things of the sort. So there are principles with regards to the acceptance of statements with regards to narrators as well. But in any case, so he says, it doesn't mention in At-Tahdhib, which is Tahdhib al-Tahdhib. So he says, so nonetheless, Salam ibn Salam al-Tawil, he is a mukhtalaf fihi narrator. Meaning he's differed about regarding differed about by the muhaddithin. Some claim him as being reliable, some claim him as not being reliable. He says, but in any case, because the narration is reported from different with different chains from different Sahaba, so therefore this hadith does not drop below the level of being Hasan. And as you know, many times now already, we've touched on the point that Hasan is a hadith which is perfectly suitable to be used to derive ahkam and everything of the sort. So, when you don't know and you hear somebody say, it's a da'if hadith, it's like when you have a person who's like a child playing with Lego blocks, trying to speak to those people who build skyscrapers, and you're telling him, hey, you're building your skyscraper wrong. Come look how I play with my Lego block over here, and I'll show you how to build a building. It's that kind of mentality. Anyway, nonetheless, that's the hadith itself. Now, just to quickly touch on the point of Nifaas before we move further. So with regards to Nifaas, the rulings with regards to Nifaas is much like that of Haid, that after a woman has given birth, that bleeding is a reason for her to not perform salah, not fast, etc., etc., etc. All the things that are prohibited during Haid are prohibited during Nifaas. So like she cannot read the Quran during Haid, she cannot read the Quran during Nifaas. Like she and her husband can't sleep together during Haid, and you understand what I mean by sleep together. In the same thing, they cannot do it in a state of Nifaas. So things of this sort comes about as a result of it. Now, we'll go further with the chapter, but to begin with, I know, we're already 15 minutes almost into class, and time may run out before we actually get to cover the Masail aspect of things. So from a fiqh aspect, 40 days is the maximum Nifaas. If a woman bleeds beyond 40 days, then 40 days is Nifaas, 41st day onwards is istihaba. It cannot be more than 40 days Nifaas. Now, with regards to the minimum time, there is no minimum time, in other words. That is why it says, except if she sees purity before this. So if she gives birth and she bleeds, and the next day she's clean, then boom, finish in the story, Nifaas is over. That sort of thing. So there's no minimum, but there is a maximum. So that's number one. Number two, in a case of a woman's first birth, when she gives birth for the first time, obviously she won't have an ada, as it's known, a habit. A woman, when she has haid, she's got an ada. Every month it's 5 days, things of the sort. She's got a habit that she adheres to generally 99% of the time, or 90% at least of the time. That's how it goes. So that's a habit. But now when a woman gives birth for the first time, she don't have a habit because she hasn't had a child. So now she will just count the days as it comes. So 7 days is gone by and she's pure. In that case, now she will make a ghusl and she'll start her salah. If it starts up again 2 days later, then we'll say it didn't end at 7 days. It had actually gone further, because why? There was too short time in between for it to have been counted as being tuhur. So therefore, this is still Nifaas carrying on. It's now day 9 that she's bleeding, even though there was 2 days of clear in between. So it's still Nifaas. That's that. Then it can last up until 40 days. If it lasts after her first birth and it lasts until 41 days, for example, then the first 40 days The whole 40-day period is deemed as Nifaas, and that becomes her ada, her habit. And 41st day onwards is istihada. Then when she gives birth for the second time, now she will look and see how her bleeding goes. If she bleeds again non-stop, then yes, we will say right through until when she stopped, it will be her Nifaas. If, however, she bleeds now for 7 days and then she stopped and then she's clear, then in that case, her habit is 7 days. Now what happens is when she gives birth for the third time, now she has an ada. She now has a habit. So in this case, she will look for the 7 days. So once the 7th day comes and she's clear, she will now perform salah immediately. If, however, she had 7 days, it cleared up, and 2 days later it came back, and then she bled one-way ticket right through until the 45th day. In that case, her Nifaas ended on the 7th day, and the rest of it was istihada. Why? Because now she had a habit. Her habit was established as being 7 days. So all of this extra bleeding, because it went right through beyond 40 days, it didn't stop at 40 days. It went right through. So then all of this falls away and she reverts to her ada. That's how these laws go. So kind of similar to Haid, but yeah, nonetheless, there's always the technical things which a woman forgets this and that, and how many days has it been, and all things of the sort. But nonetheless, a person keeps track so that you don't land into problems later on. But nonetheless, that's a summary of the masail with regards to Nifaas. And yes, in one more point over here, if a woman has been in a state of Nifaas, 7 days later, she has cleared up in that case, then she makes her ghusl, she starts her salah. So one day she made salah, next day she made salah, 9th day, suddenly she starts bleeding again. Or at least it should be 10th day, But any case, now 2 days later, after having 2 days clear, she starts bleeding again. This is now once again the fast continuing. So in that case, she drops the salah. She does not fast. She is required to stay away from her husband, etc., etc. And if she had cleared up after the 7th day and she thought that now, you know what, I'm clear, it's clean, like normal, there's no bleeding and nothing, so I'm making a ghusl for salah. In that case, it's permitted for her and her husband to sleep together and so on and so forth, everything that goes along with it. Why? Because if she's pure for salah, then everything else becomes pure as well. So she can sleep with her husband, she can do whatever she wants, she can fast, everything is allowed. But when it comes back and she finds out that no, Nifaas is back with a vengeance, then in that case, because she's no longer able to perform salah, likewise, everything else will fall into place now too. She will not be able to fast, she will not be able to sleep with her husband and things of that nature. That's how it follows up. Everything is all linked to one another. So when one falls, everything falls. And when one stands, everything stands. And the thing that it surrounds itself with is that of salah. So yeah, that's basically some of the masail that came to mind with regards to this issue of Nifaas. Obviously, like I always mention, if anybody has any questions, you're always welcome to ask your questions during the class. You don't have to ask it afterwards or next week or, things of the sort. But yeah, that being said, let us move on. Hadith number 332. حدثنا ابن مخلد حدثنا الحساني حدثنا وكيع حدثنا أبو بكر الهذلي عن الحسن عن عثمان بن أبي العاص أنه كان يقول لنسائه إذا نفست امرأة منكن فلا تقربني 40 يوما إلا أن ترى الطهر قبل ذلك. أخرجه الدارقطني وقال وكذلك رواه أشعث بن سوار ويونس بن عبيد وهشام واختلف عن هشام ومبارك بن فضالة رووه عن الحسن عن عثمان بن أبي العاص موقوفا وكذلك رووه. Okay, long story, let's read it bit by bit. So Ibn Makhlad narrates from Al-Hassani, from Imam Waqi' ibn al-Jarrah, from Abu Bakr al-Hudhali, from Imam al-Hassan, from Uthman ibn Abi al-As, who used to say to his womenfolk, meaning to his wives, when one of you are in a state of Nifaas, then don't come to me for 40 days, except if you see purity before that. In other words, unless your tuhur ends before 40 days. So don't come near me what does that mean? Does it mean go get yourself a place and live elsewhere? Get yourself a separate bed and go sleep there? No, it doesn't. What it means, don't come near me, means do not come near to me in the sense that, you know, we're sleeping together as husband and wife, because I may not be aware, you know, he's a man who's got multiple wives. So he's not having one wife only. So he may be visiting by another wife, and then he thought, okay, your Nifaas should be over by now, because he wasn't maybe, for example, keeping track of the days. So he comes there, and then you come and you know, it's like everything's back to normal. Little does he know you're actually in a state of Nifaas. So he's like saying, you know, don't put me in a position where we may end up sleeping together and I'm unaware of the fact that you are in a state of Nifaas. So he was teaching them the mas'ala that the maximum Nifaas is 40 days. So if during that period of 40 days, do not come and try and sleep with me unless you have entered into a state of purity. That's basically what it's coming down to. So that is what don't come near me means. Yes, you can sleep on the same bed. Yes, you can interact with each other and, you know, everything, as long as you abstain from sleeping together. As long as you abstain from that, then even the rest is fine. So that is what he's meaning as don't come near me in that sense. Okay, Imam ad-Darqutni rahimahullah narrates this hadith, and he says it's also reported by Ash'ath ibn Sawar and Yunus ibn Ubaid and Hisham. And it's differed now from Hisham and Mubarak ibn Fadala. They reported from Al-Hasan, from Uthman ibn Abi al-As in a mawquf form, meaning he says it as if it's his own words. وكذلك روى عن ابن عمر وابن عباس وأنس بن مالك وغيرهم من قولهم. He says, so here you find it as the words of Uthman ibn Abi al-As. But he said you also find it attributed to Hazrat Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, to Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, to Hazrat Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu anhu, and other Sahaba radiyallahu anhum who made the same statement. In other words, it was a common thing, a across the board type thing, that the Sahaba radiyallahu anhu, the Tabi'in, everyone was in agreement that the maximum Nifaas is 40 days. That's what we are taking away from here. قلت مولانا زفر أحمد تنبيه now comments. He says رجاله كلهم ثقات إلا أبا بكر الهذلي فتكلموا فيه. He says all of the narrators in the chain here are authentic, with the exception of Abu Bakr al-Hudhali, because he is mutakallim fihi, meaning muhaddithin have commented, have spoken about him. In other words, there's some problem, some weakness in him. وقال أبو حاتم لين الحديث يكتب حديثه. So he gives now, for example, what has been mentioned. He says Imam Abu Hatim al-Razi, he says that Abu Bakr al-Hudhali, he is layin al-hadith, you know, he is a bit lax in his hadith. So يكتب حديثه, his hadith are written down, but there's a little bit of weakness in him. When you're saying layin, it's a term of weakness, but not serious weakness. If it was serious weakness, his ahadith will not be written down at all. So when muhaddithin say his ahadith are written down, it means they have not kicked him out as being a liar, fabricator, thing of the sort. So therefore, this is what Imam Abu Hatim al-Razi had to say. وقال البخاري وزكريا الساجي ليس بالحافظ عندهم. So Imam Bukhari and Imam Zakaria al-Saji, they said that Abu Bakr al-Hudhali is not a hafiz of hadith. By, you know, they don't regard him to be a hafiz of hadith. In other words, he don't memorize the hadith 100%. He's not so accurate. So there's some weakness. That's basically what they are saying. So sure, the hadith may be written down and all, but you have to double check it. That's basically what they're trying to say. You would have to double check it, because you can't rely entirely just on him, in simple terms. So انتهى ملخصا من التهذيب. He says this is end quote in an abridged form from التهذيب, تهذيب التهذيب. ومع ذلك فقد تابعه غيره من الثقات كما عرفت، فالحديث حسن. ورواه الدارقطني أيضا عن الأشعث عن الحسن عن عثمان وفيه ولا تجاوزن 40 وسنده صحيح. So he says, but despite any of this, it has tawabi'. The tawabi' is plural of the word tabi', not the tabi' as in tabi'in, but it's got supporting evidences. but it's supported by numerous authentic narrators in simple terms, like how you have already known and has already been pointed out to you. So therefore, the hadith is Hasan. It doesn't go lower than Hasan. And he says, furthermore, Imam ad-Daraqutni rahimahullah himself reports the same narration from from Imam al-Ash'ath, like he mentions over here, Ash'ath ibn Sawar and Yunus ibn Ubayd and Hisham, they all reported it as well. So he reports it from Ash'ath, from Imam al-Hasan, from Uthman ibn Abi al-As, and in that narration, so don't come near to me for 40 days, except if you see purity before that. And in that narration, it also has this addition, وَلَا تُجَاوِزَنَّ الْأَرْبَعِينَ, and do not go longer than 40 days. In other words, the Nifaas cannot last more than 40 days. So even if you see your bleeding lasting for over 40 days, don't worry about that which goes beyond that point. 40 days is the maximum. Whatever bleeding comes after that is istihada. And wasanaduhu sahih, and the chain of narration of this one is authentic. So on account of this alone, it raises the level of this one here to the level of Hasan. That's how it works. Everything ties in like one bit to another. They support, yashuddu ba'dahu ba'da. The one supports the next one to make a solid structure that is suitable to make amal upon at the end of the day. And that's the end of the narration. We'll end on this point here for tonight, inshallah ta'ala, because Zoom is already said our time is running out. So we'll end on this point until next time we end and we say, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad, subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.